Hello and welcome to my Create and Launch a Game in 5 Days challenge. This is day 4 out of 5, and we've so far created a peer-to-peer beginning of a game, and yeah, we'll continue where we left off. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so this is what we have so far. Um, so we have the two browsers controlling, and then we have a kind of placeholder object here that would kill us, right? That's what we want to do today. We'll implement um, any intersection with this should kill the player and have them respawn and reset their score to 0, but we will still keep track of their high score. And I also want to order these and get rid of that 0 started at 1. Yeah, so this is day 4. We don't have a lot of time left, so I'd like to at least just get the basic functionality in so that we can finally call this a game, and have enough time left at the end so that we can at least have it running online, maybe on GitHub pages. Yeah, so it's accessible and then people can actually use it. All right, so let's get started. So as far as the high score, I can quickly get that tweaked the way I wanted. Update scores. So for each player, okay, we're getting these scores this way. And add a space here. And handle is going to be handle +1. I'm not sure that it's going to, I don't think it's going to like arithmetic in here. I have to do it over here. Player.handle +1. That way the player number will start at 1 and not 0. So we've got the score, the high score, and yeah, we and we want to order these by high score. Like whoever has the highest high score should be first. So maybe instead of putting this inside of a string, we should put it into an array so we can reorder it, and then we'll put it into a string to output it. So I'll just move this here for now. Actually, first I'll just create an array or a vector. Yeah, we'll do vector because we don't know ahead of time how many players there are. We'll call this player scores. Vector, and the type will be tuple with handle high score and score. They're all usize. Probably better if I would have created like a struct. Actually, let's go ahead and do that. Better just for readability, even because usize. I mean, the code's right here, but it's even more readable if we have a struct. Player score. And you know what? This is actually already in the player. Maybe I don't need to create a struct. We already have the player. For each player, I could clone that player. It's just a struct. I mean, the only part I need is the struct. I don't know, maybe we might add more stuff in the player later on. But I don't expect it would be like a huge amount of data. Yeah, so anyway, it's arguable whether we need this struct or not, but let's just go ahead and created. So we've got the layer number. It's all going to be usize. And the score size. All right, and so here in our loop, okay, player scores, a vector of player score. And yeah, right, and I think we need to do it like this. Yeah, there we go. So player scores, and then in here, for each will like that do player scores, push, and then here we'll push a player score. This. Write these out on new lines. Semicolon. And put these values into here. Yeah. So here, so we have our player scores vector, and now we want to reorder that. And I know there's some cool stuff you can do with vectors or iterators to reorder that, probably in a single line of code. But I don't know that off the top of my head. We'll see if I can. Yeah, I'm not really sure. So I could probably just create a loop and sort them through. I know for sure there's maybe dot iter and dot. Yeah, I'll just loop through it, or you know, I'll just look it up. Rust reorder vector. Sort. Maybe sort by. This looks like. Yeah, this is what I want. Sort by, and then yeah. Well, sort is apparently the same thing. Oh no, sort by. Sort by is what I want, because I want this predicate. Like I want to be able to say that it's sorted by the high score. All right. Well, that was easy to find. All right, so compare player score A and B. And what would be different is this. We want to do we want a CMP. Okay, what does CMP do? This analyzer is not doing it to me. Ordering. I guess it returns an enum. And okay, well, I don't think I need CMP, do I? High score? It'd be, yeah. I guess it would. A dot high score or B dot high score. And this, does this need to be a reference? So okay, there's the dot comment. Since ordering matching expression, but is the biggest one first or last, right? Okay, so 5 and 10, this returns less. The 5 smaller, so is this smaller than this? And that would return less. Yeah, if this. Okay, so I'll probably want to do, is there okay, sort by. I want to see if it's going to sort it in ascending or descending by default. And if it's the wrong way, there's a function I can call to reverse it. Okay, floats so by. Okay, so it looks like it's ascending. We want descending. And so we want to reverse the array. Sort by does not look like it returns. Oh, it returns ordering. The ordering is not what we're interested in. So it's sorted. So now we want to use the player scores. Because I was wondering if I could just chain it, but looks like I might have to do this and then reverse. Right. Nothing's going to be added. So I think this can just be 0. Right. And once you have the scores, okay, yeah, once we have the scores incrementing, like once we have actual scores and it's not all 0, we'll be able to see if I did it wrong, and we could easily fix that. But yeah, this is ordered correctly, and then let's iterate. Let's loop through that array to create the string. Okay, I don't remember how to do for each on a vector, but you can definitely do it for. There are two player scores. Right? Or even, oh yeah, okay. For player score and player scores. And then this string is what we'll be building now. And here, move this code into here to construct the string here. We don't actually need these anymore, I think. We could do player score. Maybe we still do because it doesn't like us doing any kind of operation on this. So, and handle, I mean, we can rename that now. Player number. And this is going to be player score. Yeah, I should just name it the same. Yeah, I realized this struct really was pretty redundant. Yeah, probably didn't need to do this like this. Yeah, we probably could have just used player directly. All right. So yeah, now that that's sorted the way we want, create the string. And I think that should be all. Create scoreboard string. Select scores and sort. All right. Yeah. So next, now that we have the display, spent more time on this than I thought I would. We want to increment the score based on how much time has passed, and then reset the score when a player hits the red sphere. All right, so I'm not sure how to do that yet, so we're gonna figure that out. If, okay, we could have a system maybe incrementing the score, and if the score is greater than the high score, we'll increment both. But we do need to kind of sync that over the network. So I guess we need to do it for all the players. And yeah, I'll just create a first implementation. It might not be totally in sync exactly, but then we might just have to add some component to something so that they stay in sync. It leverages the rollback correctly. At least I'll get the functionality in. Should work on all the clients. Yeah. So yeah, let's just do it at the bottom. So we need another function, a system really. And this system is going to increment scores. Right, yeah. And it needs access to the players. It'll be a mutable query this time. Because yeah, the score information is on the actual players. Right, so mutable query, and we need this to be mutable reference. That should give us access to the players, and then we'll iterate through them. This, and I'm missing semicolon, and did I do that right? Yeah, I think so. Okay, increment scores. So now we need to do, based on maybe time elapsed. So player dot score. Let's just start with this. If player dot score greater than player dot high score, we also want to increment the highest score. Equals player dot score. So it's going to do that for every player. All right, so I need a mutable reference. New player. Oh, maybe here. This one's not mutable. Player query. So how do I get a mutable reference over here? Might have to look at Bevy's docs. Oh. Is this enough? No, probably not. Yeah. It needs to probably call something else, not for each. Um, mm, mm, well, since these are references, oh, they're not mutable. Yeah. Is there something mute? Iter mute. Looks promising. For each mute, yeah, that's definitely what we want. Right, player, and this needs to be. And is it happy with this? Score. Okay. Looks like it can. Looks like it works. Okay. Um, increment scores. Oh yeah, because I need to add the system to Bevy. But this should increment the scores, and I think that's all we need for the scores to start going up. Once we add it. And that I believe happens in the main. Where's it here? Add system. So update scores. Probably could have come up with better naming because this is related to the UI. I'll rename that. Update score display. Scoreboard. Yeah, that's the scoreboard. So that should be good. Yeah. So run it again to give it a quick test. All right, so the score is increasing. Now I need to trigger the player death, which resets the score. Let's see if. Okay, so probably we want another system that checks if the player intersects with the sphere. All right, yeah, so it's incrementing. And okay, it's not in sync. I didn't expect it to be, but we'll fix that a little bit later. Yeah, so we need them to start at the same time as far as the network knows, not start, whenever the application starts, but start when the first network frame, like, yeah, because right now it's running every frame of Bevy, but not, every frame of like Matchbox. Or at least it could be based on a certain time, as long as they both have the same start time. Right, okay. So yeah, we'll create a system. Let's see this game. Trigger death, maybe we'll call it. Trigger death. And again, we'll query for the players. The players might need to access some other things on the same entity, like their position. Well, first I'm just going to trigger the death, so probably just this is enough. I just need to set the score to 0. And then we'll reposition them after that. Right, so I mean, it's going to be pretty much similar. So for every player, and then instead of doing this, we're going to do player.score equals 0. We reset the score. We don't need this. And we need the condition to reset the score. So we actually need a few things from the player. So we need Well, from the player, we just need the position of the player. We'll need the position of the enemy as well. Yeah, and let me look up real quick what else is on those entities. Set up scene system. Enemy. The enemy just has mesh material transform. Transform is what we need for the position. Yeah, I think we could calculate this all based on the position. And then the player, this is totally going to be out of sync. Where is the player? Okay, for each player, they have also transform. Okay, I just had to make sure that they didn't have like, you know, other stuff that maybe we could use. Okay, so velocity is not going to help us. And rollbacks. I mean, I think this is all we need to add to the entities that we want to make sure are in sync. And based on the player, that's all it needs. So, yeah, once we get this working, we'll get it in sync that way. Okay, so yeah, we just need to access the transform. We need the transform, but we also need to know the size, because otherwise it will only trigger when, you know, if the player is exactly positioned exactly at the same position as the enemy, which will never happen actually, because the center of the cube will never align based on the height alignment. But yeah, we'll use the size of the enemy. So yeah, okay, let's do that. So I need the player, but I also need the transform. Right, so in this case, it'd probably be similar to this. So here's querying a text that has square text. So here we're querying a player. I mean, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe we want S. So here we're changing the square text. We don't need to change the, yeah, we don't need to change the position. Oh, well, we will need to actually later on at least, but initially we don't need to. With square text, I mean, I want to access both, right? So this width, we will filter them, which is okay. But yeah, but this is not what we want, because it says if you don't actually care about the component's value, we do. Is this enough to get what I want? No. I mean, if I'm querying player, it's already filtered, and I just need to be able to also access like what I need to also access the transform. So width is not what I want, I guess, but I want, like, is there an and or something? Yeah, this one, I think I may have to look up Bevy. I don't know all the operators that can be used. Probably Bevy book. Let's see. CS might not be in here. I don't know. Oh. it's just showing the width. I want to access both. Oh, I think I remember how to do it. Could be wrong, but I think it needs to be a tuple. Player and then transform. Okay. Maybe not. So query. We don't have to spend too long trying to figure this one out. It's not a tuple. All right. There's maybe there's something that accepts a generic like yeah, where is the width coming from actually? Probably be in the same file. All the things. So with T and then is there like a something else T? I look for all the structs. Permit does not sound like what I want, but negation of width. Nope. So next one. Width, permit, or okay, so there's probably an and. With we're back to with. Okay, there's no. All right. How would I access multiple components on the same entity? Do I have to query them separately? I think I have to query them separately. Yeah, that could work. So here I can query every player, and then query every transform that has a player. Um, yeah. So to query the transforms, then I would do something like this, and hopefully it's happy with that. Some this, yeah, I'm not sure if I'd be happy with that because if I'm querying a transform that has a player, right, but I don't need to change the player. Okay, so the thing is, if I do this like this, how do I know which player is which player, right? Like I could detect the position, but if I can't access the player, I think this is actually the other way around. Player was transformed. No, yeah, this is it. Yeah, like this. So I can access the player here. Oh yeah, it's the transform I want to read. Transform. Well, I want to read both the transform and the player. So then I need to know. Yeah, this is probably the wrong way. Yeah, because I need to know which player the transform corresponds to so that I can update it. All right, so what do I do? It's probably three. Might be some examples. It's quite a long dot comment, so maybe we can read it from here. Enables access to identifier components. Right. Okay. Check that structure that accepts two type arguments. Okay. The query and the filter. So I guess we want to maybe both as part of the query. When I was trying to do a tuple, maybe this is query filtering, component A with, okay, query tuples. Okay, I think I was on the right track earlier. So, okay, but I did use a tuple before. Is it because it was mutable? Maybe I had something wrong. Right. Um, right. So I had this before. No, it was a tuple. I had like this. And well, maybe I put the tuple around the wrong thing earlier, but it's not happy with something here. All right, so something it's not happy about. Let's query. Maybe the transform needs to have its own mutable reference. Oh, there we go. All right. All right. So for each player transform, yeah. So okay, I just need to pull out this. Is it gonna be happy? No. Oh, mute. Okay. Will this be happy? All right. So we have our mutable player and transform. So, all right. Okay, and now we need a query to the enemy as well. And the enemy, I guess we just need the position. We just need the transform. Okay, we're gonna have to tag it with enemy so that we can find it. Enemy. Yeah, enemy doesn't exist here. So let's tag it with a empty struct. And I think, did we have some, okay, maybe we didn't. I'm not sure where the player is. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so enemy, enemy, and let's find our enemy and add that. Enemy. That's the player. The enemy, I think, is further up. Is it plain enemy here? All right, so mesh, material, transform, and I guess enemy. Is that enough? Wait, no, it's not it. PBR, am I on the wrong layer? PBR bundle? Maybe it's here. Happy, but I seem to have messed up the parentheses. PBR bundle is the first item, and then we have enemy. So this parenthesis should close on this line, and this yeah, okay, that's kind of a bit confusing. It's kind of like this. You know what? That's what Cargo FMT is for. There. I moved it to the end here. All right, so our enemy's tagged. Now we can find it. Player. Okay, yeah. So enemy query. And for the enemy, we want to do like we did here with the width because we're not actually interested in changing the enemy, right? Because there's nothing we can change about it. It's just an empty struct. And so we want to transform. This does not need to be a tuple anymore. Nor does it need to be mutable. We just want to know the position of the enemy. And then so transform with enemy. Right. And if we had multiple enemies, we could probably even just iterate through the enemies and just have the same logic. We'll have to iterate through the enemies anyway. Because there could be multiple. It doesn't know how many enemies there are. So. All right, so enemy query. Well, I guess we can iterate the player and then iterate the enemy. Enemy query dot for each. And how about enemy transform? For each, we'll do this right, semicolon. For each enemy transform. And we'll add some logic here. It's based on, the transform positions. If the player is near enough to an enemy, then we'll do this. So the enemy transform. Okay, if the player transform I'm going to name this player transform. The player transform. How about how about we check the distance? If okay, so the transform dot translation, that'll give us a vec3. And so the player position and the enemy position, and we want to know the distance between these two. So is there an operation here? Distance. And so this is the distance between the center of them. So the enemy is a sphere. So if we compare with the same size as the sphere, it will be when the center of the player hits the edge of the sphere. So we'll have to check for the size of the enemy sphere plus like half the width of the player, or maybe its radius. We'll see. So let distance pool. And then let's see what's the constants that we had. Cube size, is that the width or half the width? That's probably the width. So we'll want like cube size divided by 2. And then the enemy size, which we did not put in a constant. But now we should. Enemy size Remember the value we used. Enemy radius. I'll name this enemy radius. There's 0.5. Radius. I'll name it enemy radius because size would be ambiguous, whether that's the radius or the diameter. Enemy radius, and that's going to be 0.5. All right, so if the enemy radius, if the distance is less than or equal to enemy radius plus half the player size, so that was cube size divided by 2. And this is a float, so if I divide by integer should be fine, but let's just make that a float. Yeah, of course, it's not a semicolon that I need here. Okay, so the score gets reset if the player gets in range. The score for that player. Figure death. Yeah, that's okay. And we need to add this component. System. Let's see increment scores. Figure death. All right, so let's go ahead and test this out. There we go. Okay. Still loading. Maybe I'll just refresh. Did I break it? What did I do? What I want is develop just Control Shift I. Maybe that's not what I thought. Yeah, that is what I want. All right, so nothing panicked. Assert component access compatibility. Panicked. Transform. Filter with enemy. So I did something wrong in here. Maybe transform component in a way that conflicts with the previous system parameter. I think I know what happened here. Yeah, so see, we have a query on player components and transform components. And here we have a query on transform components and enemy components. It doesn't know whether, you could have an entity with both a player and an enemy and a transform. And so you could have potentially an entity that shows up in both cases. in both queries, and then that could create like some kind of race condition, or like if you were trying to modify like both like the same object at once, probably. So um yeah, so I mean, what could I do here? I could probably put them all in a query. No, that wouldn't work because we want um we want just player and transform and not enemy, right? And we want enemy but not player. So I could do without player, right? And that's what it described in the error, without T. So this will give it enough information to know that, okay, there will not actually be any overlap between these two queries. So the enemy does not have a player. And that might be enough. I'm not sure if I need to tell this query that there cannot be an enemy in it. You know what, I probably do. I probably do need to tell it that. All right, so this tuple and then without enemy, right? Because there should not be any overlap between the queries, especially since, you know, yeah, 3 generic arguments. Can I do a with and a without? Or, oh, maybe I need to do it. Yeah, I think it's a tuple. Yeah, I need to do it as a tuple because they're basically two filters. So they go in the same slot. All right. Yeah. Funny that it didn't detect this issue at compile time, which it I think it should, and it could. That'll be some improvement for Bevy. All right, there we go. Solved it. All right, so if I go, okay, if I go in here, there we go, player one. So I guess this one's player one. It'd be nice to know which one I was, but I guess I know now. Yeah, as long as I'm inside the enemy, my score is at 0. Starts increasing again. I get out, and this one, same thing, right? Player 2. So player 2 is ranking first. That should not be the case, right? Player 2, 1, player 1. Oh, okay. So we have them sorted the wrong way. The highest score is at the bottom, right? Yeah. So I guess when we reversed it, we didn't need to. Let's see. Scores. Reverse. Yeah, we don't need to reverse this. All right. So we just, okay, so we need to, when the player dies, maybe reset their position. Even if we don't, it's not, maybe not that big of a deal, but it definitely be much more obvious that you died. Might be nice to have some indicator what player you are as well. Let's see who's going to load first. There. Okay. Yeah, the highest score is still at the bottom. So I would say I did something wrong. This one seems frozen. Okay. yeah, so I want this score to go down. Okay. Yeah, maybe instead of doing that, because the logic is there, it's working. The last thing I need to do is just because we're short on time, is make sure that they're synced. I mean, even the syncing doesn't really matter that much because the player doesn't know. I mean, yeah, it kind of matters. I mean, the player wouldn't know that they're not in sync unless they're looking at each other's screen. And okay, I kind of want to refresh this just to make sure that if the other player intersects, that it does detect that they died. So like if I'm here and I intersect here, my score player 2 got reset. I go here. Oh, I didn't see it reset. See, I wanted it to see it reset. And I think the reason why I didn't see it is because I didn't change tabs, like only one tab is running at a time, or not. This didn't move. Okay, these are definitely not in the same match. One player. If I run these not in separate tabs but in separate windows, I wonder if that might help. I mean, I say it doesn't matter that they're not in sync. It does, but for the purposes of getting the game to work, it's a glitch that will not be very noticeable. Well, a glitch, fundamental logic error. Okay, so this player got, yeah, they're completely out of sync. The movement is just not happening. I wonder why that is. Yeah, looks like we broke something along the way. I do remember this working before I made all these changes. So I wonder what could have happened. We didn't touch any of the player movement, player positions, input, or anything like that. So I'm not sure what been the issue. Yeah, it's not getting. I mean, maybe if I get them side by side. And we could see them both running at the same time. Okay, so now it's working, it looks like. Now it's moving both. Okay, so probably yeah, because they're running in separate tabs. So when a tab's not active, like no code is actually running, it's just kind of frozen there. So like nothing probably was synced that way. All right, so if I go here, player 1 got their score to 0 on both sides, right? And it's not the exact same score, but at the same moment, we did see the score reset. So in terms of like the game working, the score is, not an absolute number right now. It's maybe more of a relative one. But yeah, if we sync the scores and the incrementation, we can fix that. And the enemy's not moving right now, so makes things easier too, I guess. But it should also work if you get the enemy moving. Anyway, yeah, so we'll finish that up tomorrow. We're out of time. Yeah, and hopefully we can really just stick up on the minimum that we need to do tomorrow. So we can focus the rest of the time on um, getting it live. Um, yeah. So yeah, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.